The Senate on Thursday approved President Muhammadu Buhari's request to increase fuel subsidy payment in 2022 to 4 trillion naira from 442.72 billion naira. The legislators made the approval after considering the reports of the Committee on Finance on the revised 2022 fiscal framework. The Senate also approved the president's request to raise the oil price benchmark from $62 per barrel to $73 per barrel, and the price reduction of projected oil production volume from 1.883 million to 1.6 million barrels per day. Presenting the report, Senator Barrel Jibrin, the chairman of the Committee on Appropriation, revealed that the budget was made up of 7 trillion naira recurrent expenditure, 5 trillion naira capital expenditure, and 817 billion naira for statutory transfers. He also added that 3 trillion naira of the budget was for debt service.
On Wednesday, the second day of March 2022, as the first saying, the Committee for Further Legislative Action after the debate on the general principles. Mr. President, the Senate may also recall that the 2022 Appropriation Bill was passed into law by the National Assembly on Tuesday, the 21st December 2021, in the sum of 16 trillion 391 billion, and was assented to by the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federation, Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, on Friday, the 31st day of December 2021, after having some concern on the act. 2. Objective of the bill. Fundamentally, the bill seeks, among other things, to make additional provision of a sum of 2.55 trillion to fully fund the petrol subsidy in the year 2022, and the reinstatement or restoration of budgetary costs made by NAS from key capital projects in the 2022 proposed budget by the executive arm in the sum of 106 billion 161 million, and the current expenditure in the sum of 43 billion 370 million, and to also delete all projects that were thought to have been duplicated in the 2022 Budget Act, and so on and so forth. Legislative action. Considering the circumstance and the nature of the amendments sought, and the fact that the committee was mandated to report on the bill within 1 week, the leadership of the Senate and the House of Representatives committees on appropriation consulted with the National Assembly leadership, as well as held several meetings with the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning in all aspects of the request. And what I present today, or what I'm presenting now, is the outcome of the interaction. The committee processed the bill together with House of Representatives counterparts, and what is here before you as a report is a harmonized report of the two committees of the both chambers. Revenue projection. In processing the request, the committee was also guided by the approved amendment to the revenue projection by the National Assembly as contained in the table below, which is before you. I don't need to read that. You may permit me that I don't need to read that. Number 6, additional request for inclusion in the appropriation bill. While considering the bill, the Senate received a letter from Mr. President, which was read on Tuesday, the 12th day of April 2022, requesting for additional funds for inclusion in the amendment as follows. 1, an additional increase of 1 billion to the sum of a trillion, to the initial sum of 2.5 trillion sought for payment of petroleum motor spirit. Sorry, it's not billion, it's trillion. PMS, following the decision of the executive arm of government to suspend the initial decision of the executive arm of government to suspend the removal of the subsidy in 2022. Number two, additional provision of 8.45 billion to cater for the needs of Nigerian police force, to enhance their morale. Also, three, the aggregate increase sought by the executive is 192.52 billion. However, the executive also requested for reduction in statutory transfers of some agencies totaling 66.07 billion. Recommendation. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, in line with the aforementioned, the committee recommends the amendment of the 2022 Appropriation Act as follows. A bill for an act to authorize the issue from the Consolidated Revenue Fund of the Federation, the total sum of 17 trillion 319 billion 704,091,019 naira only, of which 817 billion 699,410,210 naira only is for statutory transfers. 3,978 billion 87 million 110,437 naira only is for debt service. 7 trillion 108 billion 621 million 131,849 naira only is for recurrent non-debt expenditure, while the sum of 5 trillion 415 billion 206 million 438,523 naira only is for contribution to the Development Fund for Capital Expenditure for the year ending on the 31st December 2022.
The Senate President congratulated the Senate for working so hard to ensure that they pass the 2022 Appropriation Act.
Third reading taken, and this bill is passed. Well, congratulations for working so hard to ensure that we pass the 2022 Appropriation Act Amendment Bill. The entire country, or the government particularly, is waiting for this bill to be passed because this is the only way that the government will provide services to the people of this country. Therefore, I commend all of us for giving so much time and effort to ensure that we achieve this. We expect the government, the executive side, to ensure compliance with this act when it is signed by Mr. President. That is to say that MDS should only carry out expenditures that have been approved in the budget. Any other way of expending public fund is illegal and carries punishment or some kind of legal consequences, because that would be unconstitutional. We are in total support of deployment of resources to all those areas that we have provided those resources, and particularly the security sector, where we have so much more challenges than most others. Ours as a parliament is to ensure oversight when this budget starts to be implemented. We must ensure that funds that are deployed, that are utilized, are done so prudently and economically to the benefit of the people of this country.
The President had, in a letter to the legislature dated 10th February 2022, sought an additional 2.557 trillion naira to fund subsidy payment from July to December 2022. He had disclosed that 138 of the 254 projects in the budget, totaling 13.24 billion naira, had been identified for deletion. The National Assembly in December 2021 had approved the sum of 442.7 billion naira for subsidy in the 2022 budget for the period of January to June this year. Buhari, however, anchored his fresh request on the fact that petrol subsidy was not duly appropriated for in the national budget beyond June.